Train the muscles, not the joints. Let's go for a bike ride. I'll take you up to the beach. Let's do that, because we're talking about cardio today. And if we're talking about cardio, then it only makes sense that I would do a little bit of cardio. Just ride my bike up to the beach. So welcome back to Natural Gallant Bodybuilding, and today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about cardio and how intense should your cardio be. So first I'm just going to give you the Cole's Notes version of this video. First and foremost, I found, for me, lower intensity cardio over medium to longer periods of time seemed to work better just for skimming off the body fat on my body. Now if I went too high in the intensity, I'd start burning off glycogen and muscle tissue, and I'd start getting weaker, so it'd start to work against me, because if you're losing muscle, you're not necessarily getting leaner, you're just getting smaller, and you're losing overall weight. So now that I've said that, now you can watch the rest of the video and I talk about a little bit of the ins and outs of all this, and therefore you've got the information, but now you're gonna get some more elaborations on it. All right, cool. Roll clip. Roll the clip, just roll the clip. Now, the first thing I wanna say is that this is gonna be slightly different for everybody. And the second thing I'm gonna say, because people in the comments are always talking about studies, you know, comments on Reddit or YouTube or anywhere you go, they're always talking about a study. But remember, the study will take in the general average, but not specifically each individual circumstance, right? So you might have a deviation of one person responding really well to a certain technique and another person responding okay to it, but that doesn't mean that this person wouldn't benefit from a different technique, right? It's just that they had this average result. So the average is taken and said, this is the type of result you get in this group. So bearing that in mind, bearing that there are deviations that are involved in each group, you could also apply this to techniques or to diets or to types of cardio or intensities of cardio that you should be using in order to get the best result. And the best result in bodybuilding is not just losing weight. As soon as they start talking, that's when he starts hammering. That's funny. So something to bear in mind is that when you... I think he's doing it on purpose. He's doing it on purpose. So something to bear in mind is when you are doing cardio, you have to take in your own personal circumstance first and foremost. So first, let me approach this strategy from a bodybuilding point of view, because I'm assuming that you want to hold on to the most amount of body weight, period, as far as muscle mass. Because if you want to hold on to muscle mass, there are advantages to this. When you hold on to muscle mass, you hold on to a metabolism. When you hold on to a metabolism, it will be easier for you to maintain a leaner body fat percentage. I also want to share with you my own personal experience with my own body. Therefore, you can get some ideas maybe about what's going on with yours. Because some people will respond better to high intensity cardio and some people to lower intensity cardio depending on their situation. And these are some of the variables to consider. So for me, when I started doing intense cardio, like heart rates of 80% or 160, 170 beats a minute, and doing this for periods of 20, 30 minutes at a time, and I do it too often, what would happen is I'd start to lose a little bit of body fat, but I'd also start to lose some muscle mass. My strength would start to go down. I start to notice that I was flattening out. I started to basically adapt to the cardio activity more so than the weight training activity, which is not what I wanted. As a bodybuilder, you want to make sure that your weight training is still the foundation of what your body is adapting to, not the cardio. Because say I'm running, the best way to become a better runner is just to become lighter at any cost. You don't need to hold on to bicep size. You don't need to hold on to shoulder size or pecs or back. You don't need quadricep size. I mean, the medialis is really the main quadricep that gets worked, and you're not necessarily working the main muscle bellies themselves, right? So the body has a certain intelligence to it, and it will see muscle mass as an actual obstacle in the way of you being better at cardiovascular type of activities when it comes down to high intensity, right? Because it's also easier for your body to shift directions when you don't have as much weight to overcome for momentum reasons, right? So if you're a 200-pound guy, it's a lot harder for you to shift direction than if you're 120 pounds, right? So that's why hummingbirds can go zing, 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 like this, right? So if you want to be built like a hummingbird, then move like a hummingbird. The fact is, when I started doing super intense cardio, what I would notice is that I'd start to lose a little bit of muscle mass, I'd start to lose strength, and over the long run, I would possibly be a bit leaner, but I'd be losing a higher percentage of muscle mass for how much body fat I was losing. So I found it was easier for me and better for me to do lower intensity type of cardio. So just getting the heart rate going to 110 beats a minute or so, 120 beats a minute, but getting it at a constant sort of pace for 20 or 30 minutes in order to basically just get the breath going, get the circulation going, and help the blood flow get to those body fat areas and start to release some of that body fat for energy. But if I was burning too fast, too quick, I'd start to burn carbs too quick, start to burn the muscle glycogen too quick, and start to burn off the protein a little bit. And then from there, I would start to not really be using the body fat for fuel itself, which was my main goal as a bodybuilder. So for you, one thing you have to consider is what happens in your body when you're doing the intense cardio. Are you noticing that your strength is just taking a nosedive? Are you noticing that your physique is actually starting to look worse than it did before? Because if you have a really fast metabolism and you start doing a lot of cardio, you might be burning up the metabolism or burning up the calories too fast in order for you to compensate for it. Even if you have a fast metabolism, you could sit at a little bit of a higher body fat percentage than say what you want to. Say you're going to get ready for a contest and you want to get down to 4% from 10% body fat. Well, you have to take into account your metabolism. Like, what is your natural metabolism like? Are you more an ectomorph or are you more an endomorph? Now, if you have a slower metabolism, and if you're more an endomorph, perhaps you can get away with more intensity. Perhaps you can get away with a higher amount of intensity in your cardio activity without losing so much muscle mass. So as a general rule, what I say is what you want to adapt to is what you want to make the priority of where you put most of your energy. So if you want to gain muscle mass and gain that metabolism, then you want to put most of your energy into the weight training or constant tension type movements. And then you use the cardio as just a sculpting or a slight way of burning some fat calories that you cannot access just from weight training alone. And that way it helps sculpt the physique slowly, but you're not doing it so fast and so aggressively that you're burning off your muscle tissue in the process. Because if you want to be built like a marathon runner, then by all means, start doing cardio like that and make that your priority. But bodybuilding, you want to maintain that muscle mass. So you want to be careful with it, right? So if you have a super slow metabolism, and if you have a real hard time losing any body fat whatsoever, then perhaps doing some really intense cardio for a period of time might be the right answer for you. Notice always what's going on in your body. At first, you might start skimming off some body fat, but once you start dipping into that muscle and you start losing a lot of strength, then you have to say, okay, I have to reassess my strategy and possibly back off on the intensity of the cardio and then make the weight training more a priority for a period of time. So this is how you strategize with cardio and how to use it when you need to, but not to overuse it. Because if you overuse it, you're going to adapt and become a cardio athlete, but not necessarily a leaner athlete or a more muscular lean athlete. You know, the bodybuilding look that we're all trying to achieve here. Now, some people seem to respond really well to HIIT training. They seem to respond really well to doing super high intensity cardio for short periods of time and then riding that metabolic boost for the rest of the day. For myself, I found that I actually lost muscle mass from doing that. And I found that if I went too intense, too high intensity, then actually it would go against my bodybuilding gains. But you have to try this as well. So I'm not saying that doesn't work, but try high intensity and lower intensity and see which one helps you maintain the most amount of muscle mass. There's no one right answer for this. It's going to be based on your metabolism and your genetics and how your body responds to cardiovascular activity. So anybody that says there's just one answer is not necessarily giving the whole truth here, because there is your own individual circumstance. So I hope this helps you out with your training. Thanks a lot for watching. If you need to get hold of me, just go to naturalgallantbodybuilding.com, and thanks a lot to the Patreon supporters, and take care for now. Square, and then around, and then like this, and you have the instep here. Probably just me. Not on your shoe. No, your shoe wouldn't make that. It looks like a toe. Big toe, and instep right here. Huh, and the heel.
Well, I mean, it could be a shoe just scraping, but it doesn't. It looks funny. It looks kind of funny.
Yeah, it creates an illusion.